The story begins with a girl who was born with a beautiful stone in her hand. She used her powers well, guiding people to happiness. The late queen of this country was said to be the Jewel's daughter. Anna, a young girl with long dark hair, arrived in a new territory said to be the mountain fortress of Prince Evan, the first prince. The castle was grand and beautiful, and it was to be Anna's new workplace. She approached the door, slowly raising her hand to knock. She had heard the rumors that the prince really did live deep in the mountains. Two ladies had approached Anna not long ago, letting her know that there was something they needed to tell her. Prince Evan, the first prince, was looking for servants at his mountain fortress. They told her that starting from tomorrow she would be living and working there. One of the women told her that her lovely daughter Fiona was engaged to a nobleman of high rank, so from now on they would be very busy with the wedding preparations. They were politely saying they could not look after Anna anymore. Sadly, Anna's biological mother died when she was born. Her stepmother came afterwards. With a daughter Anna's age, her stepmother was very strict, but Anna remained respectful. She told her stepmother she understood. The truth was that Anna hardly felt any sadness in leaving the house she grew up in, but she still could not help but feel uneasy. On her way, she heard many bad rumors about Prince Evan. One lady told her the prince had twisted hobbies and that those who went there never returned. Another told her that the prince was infamous for hating people and no one had ever seen his face. There was even word that he suffered from a strange illness that could be contagious. So Anna was not filled with confidence about being sent to the job. She was met at the doorstep by a maid who wondered what she wanted. Anna smiled and joyfully introduced herself as Anna Scarlet. She told the maid that she would be working here starting from today. The maid flatly told her that she would begin working immediately and should come in. The first thing she told Anna was to stay away from the prince's chambers. Prince Evan was quite the recluse. She handed Anna a pile of clothes which resembled a maid's uniform and gave Anna her first job, to clean the rooms on the first floor. Anna asked if the maid meant all of them. Remembering the sheer size of the castle, the maid told her that she did mean them all. So Anna changed and got straight to work. She still had many questions, but knew she needed to give this job her best. A few hours passed and the entire first floor was cleaned immaculately by Anna. The chief maid was informed, but she still seemed quite stern and cold. She told Anna to get started with the laundry too. Anna politely accepted the clothes. Anna sighed as memories came flooding back. Her own mother calling her useless and looking down on her with disappointment. All Anna wished for was to be of some use to someone. She hung the clothes outside before returning to the castle. Things seemed to look up from there, as Anna was handed a fresh loaf of bread. The chief maid even gave her a pat on the back for her efforts. Despite the hard day of labor, Anna went to bed with a big smile on her face. She decided that she would try even harder tomorrow. As Anna rested, the maids gathered to gossip. The first topic was, of course, what they all thought of the new girl. The chief maid laughed like a witch, admitting she was pleased to have someone to dump all the dirty work on. The maids agreed it was a good thing. It meant they would even have enough time to go to town. They feasted on steak and wine, a far cry from Anna's humble meal. One of the maids voiced her concern about the butler finding out, but she was quickly told to relax, especially since the prince was supposedly leaving for a few days. The women continued to cackle, excited to get out there and gamble again. 3 months passed and life for Anna did not change much at all. She continued with her laborious tasks, realizing that she had not crossed paths with Prince Evan at any point. Not to mention she still had not been paid and remained eating only a loaf of bread a day. But Anna remained gracious. A room with a bed alone was a blessing for her. Memories of her old life flashed in her mind. One day the butler came to hand Anna a letter. Anna thanked him. The butler told her that since she had arrived, the castle had become spotlessly clean. Anna could not believe it, that someone had praised her for the very first time. The idea of helping someone made her smile. The butler looked at his pocket watch and jumped. The prince was to set off on a journey somewhere soon. The butler told Anna to take care of the castle as he would be away for a few days. Later that night, Anna stared at the letter, wondering if it was from who she thought it was. She pulled it out gently and immediately recognized the handwriting. It was Oni-chan. When Anna was little, her brother was sent away for work, her only best friend. The letter read that her brother was sorry for leaving her alone, but he had come down with a plague. He wrote that he had run out of money for medicine so soon, he would not be able to continue working. He asked Anna if she had anything she could send to help him. Anna remembered a time when her brother risked himself to save her. This time she knew she needed to save him. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, the king sat on his throne dealing with a predicament. In front of him was a man bowing at his feet. The man had been captured on the basis of being a spy. The king asked the man if he was certain there were no spies in this castle, and the man told him yes confidently. The king told Prince Evan that he should ask him. Evan rose to his feet to walk towards the man. He asked him once again if there were really no other spies apart from him. The man growled, repeating that there were no others. Evan knew immediately that this man was lying. He told the king that 2 of his fellow guards were also spies investigating this kingdom. He told the king he needed to capture the men named Thomas and Robin. The man shouted that this was nonsense, but the king told him that Evan could not be deceived. They were all to be beheaded. The man was furious that Evan had used some kind of ability to figure him out. The man was taken away by guards, and Evan was applauded for his good work. His calling had been completed, and he could leave the palace now. Deep down, Evan was relieved. He found the palace to be a wretched place. On his way out, he bumped into a familiar face who taunted Evan for how unusual it was to see him in the palace. The man was his brother Gil. Evan turned to face him as Gil asked if he had been called over to deal with the matter. He laughed, telling Evan how nice it must be having chances to show off his ability. Evan muttered to Gil that he was as talkative as ever. Gil walked away, as it was said that as the second prince he should do his own share of work. The Jewel's daughter. Using her ability, she foresaw the kingdom's hardships and guided it to prosperity. Their mother, the late queen, was one such woman. Evan wondered if she had been found, a girl born with the same gift with a stone in her hand. Gil smiled and said he had found her. She was engaged to him. In other words, the throne was his. Evan's eyes widened, but he quickly let the interaction go. He had no interest in that. May he spend his whole life locked away in a mountain fortress? He thought so. That was the fate of someone born with this ability. Meanwhile, at the castle, the maids were taking full advantage of the prince being away. They relaxed in the drawing room, gambling and messing around, happy that he would be gone for the night. Anna reluctantly entered the room to ask about her wages. She pleaded that they send her some money so she could send some home. The man she spoke to waffled that it was strange she had not been paid yet, since he made sure that everyone received their pay. Anna asked timidly where it could have gone then, since she had not seen any money since she arrived. The man offered her a place next to him, telling her if she beat him at cards, she would get her pay. Anna gulped as the man told her quietly that if she lost, then she would need to pay him a fair price. Anna knew she did not have a choice. She needed to help her brother, whatever it took. She sat down, not sure how to play the card game. She tried her best, intuitively shuffling and swapping the cards. The man swore, realizing Anna had a lucky win. He let this one go, but warned her she would lose next time. They continued to play, and Anna won every single round. She could hardly believe it herself, only picking the cards on instinct. Suddenly, the man bounced up, accusing Anna of cheating. She quickly defended herself, telling the man that it was her first time playing, and she did not even know how to cheat. The man was not buying it, though, threatening that he would show her what happens to thieves. He whacked her across the face, and Anna fell back. He screamed at her for humiliating him, and asked if she really needed the money that badly. Meanwhile, the prince returned to the castle early after successfully helping out at the palace. Not to mention, he could not stand staying overnight in that place. His butler kindly welcomed him, surprised to see him home so early. His butler tried to comfort him, but Evan was angry over what his brother told him. As he walked in, he heard some strange noises. He guessed it was just the servants fighting again. His butler smiled, asking him what was wrong. Evan headed off to get to the bottom of it. Anna looked up from the ground, terrified of what would happen next. The maids did not seem to care that she had been assaulted, so of course they would not intervene now. Fortunately, the prince walked in just in time. The man gasped, not expecting to see him. He smiled foolishly, telling the prince that Anna had cheated him and she needed disciplining. The prince looked straight through the man and assured him that Anna was not cheating. More importantly, the man had embezzled her wages and wasted them on gambling. That was the real issue. Anna could not believe what was happening. She had never seen the prince before, so how did he know all of this? Evan shouted at everyone else to get back to work, furious over what he was seeing. The maid scurried off, whispering that Anna must not have been cheating if the prince said so. But he had never interacted with them before, so why was he helping her? The butler came rushing in, asking Anna if she was all right. He apologized to the prince, admitting he should have kept a closer eye on her. Evan looked down and asked who she was, and the butler explained that she was the new maid who had been working very hard every day. Evan looked into Anna's eyes and told her he could see a brother who was sick and needed money. Anna gasped. Could this man really read minds? The butler introduced Evan as the first prince and let Anna know he could read minds. Evan looked at Anna and asked her to go with him to his room. Anna tried to stay calm, but you could clearly see the shock on her face. The prince asked her full name and she told him Anna Scarlet. He held up her face gently to take a look, and he saw that this girl's thoughts felt hazy, almost like they were covered by light. Anna was hard for him to read. It reminded him of his mother. Anna was taken to the prince's room and she admired how handsome and tall he was. She jumped when he asked where she was from. The prince was still trying to work Anna out and he wanted to know if she was connected to his mother in any way. Anna asked if he meant her birthplace and the prince continued to ask her parents' names and where they were from. Anna looked down, unsure of how to answer any of the questions. The prince tried asking her a more simple question, what her favorite food was. Anna simply told him that she liked anything. The prince knew that Anna had nothing, or at least no common ground with his mother at all. He asked her if she was the jewel's daughter, and Anna asked if he was referring to the legend. Evan placed his hands on his face, clearly realizing he had lost his mind. It was all probably because of the drama at home and Gil's engagement. He told her that was all, and asked her to get back to work. Anna made her way down the stairs in disbelief that Evan could read minds. The butler told her that he had that ability since he was a child. If he stares deeply into someone's eyes, he can read all the details of their life. Anna remembered him taking her by the chin and looking at her. The butler smiled, letting her know that the prince usually does not ask so many questions. He told Anna that Evan's mother was a jewel's daughter. As the name suggests, she was born holding a shining jewel and always had the ability to foresee the future. The queen actually saved the kingdom many times with that power. Sometimes children of a jewel's daughter are born with strange abilities. Anna realized that must be how Evan got his skill. The butler told her that jewels each have a color. As far as they know, there are 4 colors of the jewel's daughters in the world. No 2 of the same color exist at once. When one dies somewhere in the world, a new daughter of that color is born. But truthfully, there is still much unknown about the jewel's daughters. Anna knew then that she had nothing in common with a queen who had saved a kingdom multiple times. She walked behind the butler to enter the common room again. It was there that she saw the chief maid sweeping, working harder than Anna had ever seen her work. Anna actually felt guilty seeing her fellow maids sweeping. She apologized and told them that she would begin immediately. The nasty maid was shocked by Anna's elegance even after being treated so poorly. The maids worked together and soon dinner was served by the same man who assaulted Anna. He apologized for only giving her bread previously, this time handing her a well-balanced meal. Anna was super excited when she saw the food, and the man could only huff for her not to waste any. Anna was pleased that the seniors were finally treating her kindly, but of course she had Evan to thank for that. A few days passed and Evan crumbled up an invitation that was sent to him. It was for Gil's unveiling ceremony. Evan was furious knowing that it was his brother's petty trick. He ranted to his butler, saying that at that event his brother will flaunt the difference between them in front of the nobles and retainers. Between him, cursed with a twisted ability and banished to the mountains, and Gil, engaged to the jewel's daughter and favored as heir. Evan continued to rant that it was typical of Gil and his father too. He refused to go, despite his butler trying to calm him down. He told Evan he was probably overthinking this whole thing, but Evan was not having it. He told his butler to keep quiet, reminding him not to spout hollow comfort at him. The butler calmly left Evan in his fury, gently closing the door behind him. When he had left, Evan collapsed onto his bed, more frustrated than ever. The butler made his way downstairs where Anna was cleaning as usual. He asked her if she could assist him with something. Of course, the butler recognized that Anna was the first girl Evan took an interest in, so he wondered if she would be of any help. The butler explained how Evan had shut himself away in his chambers and he was barely eating. The butler was worried Evan would fall ill after receiving an invitation from his younger brother Gil to the fiancé unveiling ceremony. Anna asked the butler why this would upset Evan so much, and he explained that the invitation was unprecedented. From childhood, Evan had suffered from his ability. Being able to read minds meant he could read all the negative things too. It hurt him seeing what others truly thought of him. The only person who gave him strength was his mother, who encouraged him and cared for him gently. But after the queen died, Evan's father never treated him the way she did. Even now, he and Evan were estranged. Evan and Gil did not have a great relationship either and were always rivals. That was why Evan was exiled to this mountain fortress. Sometimes his family wanted him, but that was only to help them catch criminals and bring them to justice. Other than that, no one dares to get close to Evan. The butler finished by telling Anna that he had served Evan since he was young, even following him to this fortress. But of course he was old now, so he could not stay by his side forever. The butler explained that something needed to change before that day came, so he asked Anna for her help this time. Evan looked out of the window in sadness. He heard the door open and told his butler that he was not interested in having dinner, but to Evan's surprise it was Anna. She smiled, telling him she had brought him his meal. Evan asked if it was the same girl from last time, and Anna said yes. She told him his food was made especially today and smelt wonderful. Evan frowned, realizing that his butler had recruited Anna for this task. Or maybe she was after a reward. He told her to shut up and not order him around. Anna's eyes widened as she was ordered out of his room. She told him that she would leave the tray by the door and would pick up the empty dishes later. But she told Evan he needed to eat or else he would get sick. She did not waste another moment, turning away from Evan and leaving his room. She felt sad for him, as she would for anyone who was alone and suffering. A few hours passed and Anna returned for the tray. To her surprise, a bowl of food was empty. She bounced downstairs to tell the cook and butler that Evan had eaten the meal. She thanked the cook for making such a delicious dinner. After that, Evan never left his chambers. But he did eat a bit every day. Anna tried her best to help him, cooking new dishes which were light and easy to finish. The butler helped her, telling her nostalgic meals and treats the prince liked from his childhood. Anna knew she needed to attempt to make his old favorite dessert, so she stayed persistent, leaving food out every single day. Evan could not believe it. Even after yelling at her, she did not quit. Most would have given up by now, he thought to himself. Anna held up the dessert proudly and decided to take it up immediately. The butler smiled, knowing Evan would probably need something to cheer him up. The unveiling ceremony was tomorrow after all. Meanwhile, Evan lay asleep on his bed, nightmares rushing through his mind. He dreamt of people's thoughts, how they found him creepy and nothing but a hollow first prince. The same nightmare he had every time, preventing him from resting. There was a knock on the door, and it was Anna with his food again. Of course, Evan told her he was not hungry, but Anna smiled, telling him that she tried making pudding this time. She smiled, but this only angered the prince more. He screamed that he did not want it, and if she had time for this nonsense, then she should at least go and clean instead. He cruelly added that that was all girls like her were good for. Anna looked down, disheartened by the prince's tantrum. He slammed the door in her face. She asked him if he really did not want it. Evan told her that he did not like anything anymore and he just wanted to be left alone. Anna boldly asked him why he did not want to go to the unveiling ceremony. He said that he would gain nothing there other than being stared at like a freak. He asked her why he would ever be interested in going somewhere where he was bound to be humiliated. Evan swore that he would never step foot in the palace again, especially not to face the same people who banished him to the mountains. Anna told him that he should speak to his family. It was too lonely for him out here, but her words only triggered him more. He asked her what she knew about anything. Anna told him she knew because she could not see her family anymore. Her mother died in childbirth and her father fell into despair, becoming bedridden. He remarried his wife's friend who had helped at her birth. Her stepmother was strict and harsh, scolding her every day. Her daughter Fiona was applauded for being beautiful and smart. Anna's only friend, her brother, was sent away to work. Anna told Evan how her family fell apart in front of her own eyes and things would never be the same again. She apologized for making this about herself, but told Evan that his family were still here, so he could make the decision to face them. Whereas she could not make that decision. She began to walk away, but Evan opened the door and asked her to leave the plate. He looked down to see his mother's pudding. He took a mouthful but complained it was far too sweet. So sweet he could not eat it. Anna shrieked, thinking she did a good job. In her mind, nothing could be too sweet. Evan sighed, telling her that balance did exist. He gave her a spoonful and Anna smiled. It was super sweet. She apologized, explaining to Evan that she rarely had sweets at home. She thought something like this would cheer him up. Evan sighed and Anna told him she would make it again immediately. But Evan told her to forget it. He called for his cook to prepare the meal. Anna smiled in satisfaction. Had Evan just stepped out of his room? Meanwhile, a luxurious black carriage drove through the town. It was so beautiful it attracted a crowd, who guessed that it must be from the palace. The carriage came to a halt and Prince Gil stepped out majestically. The townspeople wondered what he was doing in this district. Gil was met by a blonde woman who ran towards him. Gil took her hand before turning to the crowd. He announced that he was engaged to Fiona Scarlet. She is the new Jewel's daughter. The crowd cheered, relieved to have another Jewel's daughter in their royal family. An older woman, presumably Fiona's mother, smiled suggestively from the corner. The morning of the unveiling ceremony came. Anna smiled, finding that she had received another letter from her brother. Evan began to leave his room more often and even sat for breakfast in the conservatory. He asked Anna to pour him some tea before asking if she had received a letter from her brother. Anna smiled excitedly, telling him yes. She told Evan that her brother wrote that he was able to buy medicine with the money and thanked her. But Anna knew that it was Evan who helped better her brother's situation. Evan told her he was not trying to help, but deep down he knew that by helping her brother, he could keep that smile on her face. His butler came and apologized for disturbing him, but Gil's fiancé unveiling ceremony would be held tonight. He was strongly suggested to attend. Evan suddenly called for Anna, making her jump out of her skin. He told her that they were going on a walk and he wanted her to join. Anna smiled, noticing Evan call her by her name for the very first time. Evan and Anna walked through a small gate behind the manor. She knew that this path led to the mountain. Evan turned to Anna and asked her why she was separated from her brother. Anna went quiet before telling him that her mother passed away and her father fell ill, and a woman who was a friend of her mother's cared for them. Later, the same woman married her father, and her stepmother's daughter Fiona became part of their family. She admitted life was peaceful until she and Fiona turned 5, and her brother turned 10 and was sent to a boarding school. She remembered the day she hugged her brother goodbye and he promised that he would write letters. Her stepmother held her back as they watched her brother go. The day after he left for the dorm, her stepmother called her only to ask if she had finished her chores. It was like her character changed overnight. She would order Anna around, telling her that she was nothing but a burden on the family. She was given plain foods to eat, while she watched Fiona feast on delicious spreads of food. It was clear that Anna was being pushed away. Evan looked at Anna, listening to her story. He asked if her father said anything about the way she was being treated. Anna explained that her father was an accountant. Between his illness and his work, he spent most of his time resting in his room. She looked down, guessing all this happened because she was clumsy as a child. She would receive letters from her brother, her face lighting up when she saw them. But most of the time it would only be bad news, that he was struggling to keep up with boarding school. He would ask how her life was and wanted her to keep him updated. Of course, Anna kept exchanging letters, but she still felt lonely. Every day felt cold. But she knew her brother had it hard too, so she could not worry him with her troubles. So as a result, Anna never wrote about how she was truly feeling. She would tell him everything was fine, that Rose, her stepmother, was kind to her. She made sure to hide her brother's letters from her stepmother, until one day she found one. She asked Anna what the letter was, her face furious. She scolded Anna for sneaking around and accused her of filling Alan's head with lies. Anna cried, telling her she never said a bad word about her. But Rose was not having it. She lifted her hand, about to hit Anna, when someone jumped in the middle. It was her brother. He asked Rose if she had been treating Anna like this all along. Rose was stunned to see Alan, asking why he was away from school. But Alan knew something was wrong with his sister's short letters. He told Rose to never hurt his sister, but Rose ordered him out of the house immediately. Alan told Rose that he would tell his father everything, and Rose needed to take a breath and walk away. When she left, Alan rushed to Anna, apologizing for leaving her. He wished he came back sooner to check on her. That night, Anna slept in a soft bed for the first time in years. She had not felt that safe since back when her brother still lived at home. The birds chirped the next morning and young Anna's eyes opened. She expected to see her brother there beside her, but he was gone. She heard a voice call her name and the door opened. Rose was standing smiling at her. She told Anna that Alan had been sent to work in a distant town by her father's decision. She told Anna that if she had not written those letters to him, he would still be at school with his friends. Rose told Anna it was all her fault that Alan had to leave school. Rose hissed for Anna to get back to work. So from then until she came here, her stepmother's discipline only grew harsher. Evan was furious to hear how badly Anna was treated, asking her if she wanted revenge. Anna told him that before she came here, she secretly asked for her brother's address, and for the first time in 5 years, she sent him a letter. From here, she could finally keep in contact with him, which gave her more joy than ever. But this time, she wanted to be the one to help her brother. Evan thought to himself how Anna's kindness was motivated by her love for her brother, and how he was once there for her when she was young. Even though they were far apart, they still thought of each other. He thought about Gil and himself. Although they fight now, there was once a time where they were young. Memories of him and his brother as children flashed in his mind. Evan then decided that he would attend the unveiling ceremony, and he wanted Anna to join him. Anna smiled, thrilled to be invited. Evan got ready and prepared a carriage. His butler was overjoyed that he had decided to join. But Evan felt a lot calmer the past few days ever since Anna came into his life. She loved the carriage and asked him if it was okay if she sat in it with him. Of course, Evan did not mind. They set off on the 4-hour journey to reach the capital. When they arrived in a nearby town, the villagers sneered and stared at his carriage. They looked really thin and impoverished, and Anna could not help but notice the bare fields surrounding her despite it being summer. She also noticed that the town only had women and children in it. It turned out that ever since Evan's mother passed away, the king had grown increasingly paranoid. So he only focused on wars and rooting out spies. With so many men drafted, villages lost their workers, and towns like these were left ruined. Evan told her the poverty spread across the kingdom. Depending only on the queen's powers, the king lost the courage to act on his own. That fear drove him into needless wars, and he could not even see the state of his people's lives anymore. Evan knew this could not go on, especially with people suffering so much. Not to mention the king would not even listen. A long time ago, he made a promise. He called both Evan and Gil over. His mother told him that with this child by her side, the three of them would support the king and bring happiness to those in need. Evan wished that he could keep that promise to others, but as he was now, he could not do much. He did not have any strength. But Anna stopped him in his tracks, telling him he was a kind man. They finally arrived at the royal palace, which was filled with nobles and royals. Rose turned to the royals and asked if their son Evan was here. Gil scoffed, telling her his cowardly brother would never show up. Rose thought to herself how Evan did not seem like a threat. He was even more hated than she thought, which reassured her that Gil would definitely be the next king. Gil told her that even the guests knew that Evan could read minds and thought of him as a monster. He told her that he would never show up in such a place. Rose could not believe that Evan could read minds. Knowing it was a seriously powerful ability, she stopped in her tracks, her mind thinking of what this meant. Fiona noticed and asked her mother if she was all right. Her complexion had completely faded. Her mother told her she was fine and that she must not falter. She knew that her daughter would be the queen, no matter what it takes. The ceremony had hardly begun when there were footsteps. To everyone's surprise, Prince Evan had arrived. Gil could not believe it. Evan faced Gil, looking him straight in the eye. Gil was lost for words. Anna gulped, feeling the tension from a mile away. Gil and Evan faced each other as onlookers murmured over what was going on. Rose could not believe that Evan had shown up, and she knew that if he could actually read minds, it could put her entire plan at risk. She knew she had to turn away. Fiona chased after her mother, asking her what was wrong. Rose told Fiona about how she learned that Prince Evan could read minds, but she was not sure how far his ability could reach. Fiona suggested that he could have meant within sight, but Rose was still unwilling to take any risks. She asked her daughter to forgive her. She did not feel well and she wanted to rest in the waiting room. Fiona told her mother that she would have the maid Irina attend to her. Meanwhile, Anna could be seen from the corner of Rose's eye, and she had to do a double take. Evan congratulated his brother on his engagement, and Gil civilly thanked him. He asked him what he was up to since he knew Evan hated being in the public eye, being seen as a monster with his ability, yet he came to a hall filled with nobles and distinguished guests. Gil was concerned that his brother was scheming something. Evan could only look at him flatly. Gil was approached by Fiona, and he then decided it was time to introduce Evan to his fiancé. It was then that Anna saw her stepsister, now the prince's fiancé. He introduced her as the Jewel's daughter. Anna could not believe it. Since when was Fiona the Jewel's daughter? Evan looked at Fiona and felt some reassurance that she should be like his mother. He could read her immediately. Fiona saw Gil and Evan with similar faces, and she noticed how tall he was too. But she found it unpleasant how he could read minds. Evan was quickly let down. Despite being a Jewel's daughter, her thoughts were not that different from everyone else's. Unlike his mother or Anna, there was no hazy veil of light that made her harder to read. But what did that mean for Anna? It was then that Fiona saw Anna in a maid's uniform. She smiled, telling her it had been a while. Anna smiled and congratulated her stepsister on her engagement. Gil asked what the link was, and Fiona told him Evan's maid was her stepsister. Fiona smiled, although now it appeared quite fickle. She told Anna how worried she and her mother were about her. Before asking if she was now troubling Evan, Evan could see straight through Fiona, how she was proud that she was marrying the future king while Anna toils in some remote mountain fortress. She saw herself as the chosen one and pitied Anna. Evan's eyes narrowed as he saw Fiona's thoughts get uglier by the minute. People could not believe they were sisters, with Fiona looking so elegant and refined, and Anna looking like some uneducated country girl. They recognized Gil as the future king while Evan was reviled. Fiona was the Jewel's daughter destined to be queen, while her sister was incompetent. The difference was as stark as night and day. Evan had heard enough, and he made an announcement that he could hear everything. He would not allow anyone to insult his attendant. Gil was shaken by Evan's anger. To be this passionate over someone else confused him. Suddenly another guest joined the room. It was a younger boy who was excited to see Evan. Evan's eyes widened as he said Leo's name. Leo was told not to run and he apologized, mentioning how he was just so happy to see his brother again. Leo smiled and told Fiona it was nice to meet her too. He introduced himself as the third prince, and the man behind him introduced himself as Jack, captain of the knights. Evan smiled, telling Leo he had grown. Jack smiled, telling Evan it had been a while. Then the king entered, sitting on his throne. Fiona and Gil joined his side, with Leo, Jack, and Evan on his other side. People took their seats, fascinated by the platters of food and treats. Evan sighed as he watched them feast, his mind drifting to all the soldiers fighting tirelessly while they were enjoying an unveiling ceremony. He found it shameful. Anna stood in the corner of the room watching the evening go by. Meanwhile, Rose paced around the waiting room thinking of her next move. She knew that Evan was a big obstacle and a hindrance to Fiona. If only she could find a way to drive him away from the palace. She opened up a chest, knowing that she had come up with a great idea. Rose turned to Irina to tell her she had a favor to ask. Irina made her way to Anna and asked her to come with her. Anna was not too sure how to respond, but she reluctantly followed Irina to the waiting room. It was there that her stepmother was waiting for her. Anna's eyes widened in fear. Rose asked Anna how she had been. She commented on how she was so useless she was worried that she was causing trouble at her post. Anna gulped and told her that the prince and others had been kind to her and she was just about managing. Rose forced a smile, telling her she was happy to hear that, and perhaps Anna was successful due to her strict discipline. Anna could only thank Rose, who made a strange move. She pulled Anna in for a half-hearted hug before pushing her away. Rose decided she would head back now. Anna was confused over what had just happened but headed back to the ceremony regardless. Gil had begun to introduce Fiona to the crowd, who cooed over her with smiles on their faces. Gil smiled, announcing that he would now unveil the jewel for all to see. Fiona asked Irina to bring the box, the same one that Rose had picked up earlier. Fiona held it up and opened it to find that there was nothing inside. She cried that the jewel had gone. She panicked, saying that she had left it there herself. Irina told her how Anna had gone into the room to meet with her stepmother, so perhaps she had something to do with it. Fiona was furious, her eyes darting to Anna. She marched over to her stepsister, accusing her of stealing the jewel and attempting to disgrace her. She went on to call Anna nothing but jealous. It did not help that other members of the crowd called out that they saw Anna walk out of the waiting room too. Fiona called for the guards to seize Anna, who stood helplessly in the corner. No matter how much she stood up for herself, it fell on deaf ears. Evan stepped forward, ordering the guards not to touch his attendant, but Gil told him that Anna was under the suspicion of theft. Evan decided that he would read her mind and prove it. He looked into Anna's eyes and told the crowd that she had not stolen anything. But Fiona was still furious, and she demanded for someone to search Anna's body to prove it. Irina leapt at the opportunity, reaching into Anna's pocket. It was there that she pulled out the jewel. Gil looked at Anna in disbelief, and Anna could not believe how the jewel had ended up in her pocket. She was accused of theft and ordered to be thrown in prison. Anna stood frozen as she was escorted by 2 guards. She had no idea why the jewel was in her pocket. The onlookers told her that stealing the jewel was a grave crime, and as a result, Anna should be thrown in prison. A man asked if it was Evan's attendant who was accused. Gil thought to himself how he was promised he would be king if he married the jewel's daughter. So he decided Evan must be behind this, having his attendant steal the jewel to stop him. That explained why he even came to the ceremony. Gil turned to face Evan, asking him straight if he ordered Anna to steal the jewel. Evan looked at his brother like he had gone mad. He told him that would be impossible, but Gil argued that although he could read minds, no one else could read his. If he were to lie, then who would know? Gil was enraged over the accusation. He asked Gil if he really thought he would believe that. Gil called Evan a coward who only hid behind others' protection. He told him that was the reason his mother died. His words cut through Evan like a sword. He could not believe his own brother was saying this. He looked at Gil and was about to go in until Jack called for everyone to stop. Onlookers watched Anna get taken away, but she managed to curl out of the guard's hands, taking the jewel from Irina. It fell, and Anna crawled after it, protecting it from the crowd. Evan called for her as he noticed the jewel glow majestically in Anna's hands. Fiona rushed to try and snatch the jewel from Anna's hands, calling her a thief. Anna noticed the bright shining light from her palms, and the king ordered everyone to be silent. He walked up to the crowd, looking down at his sons, Fiona, and finally Anna, who was taken by the guards again. He ordered for Anna to be taken to the dungeon, despite Evan telling him no. The king then ordered for Evan to remain confined in his quarters within the palace. He himself was escorted by guards. The king announced that he would make a decision later, but he wanted them both taken away for now. He dismissed everyone, calling a dramatic end to the unveiling ceremony. The following day in town, a makeshift festival took place. The news of the unveiling ceremony spread like wildfire. The townspeople already had a bad taste in their mouths whenever the royal family was mentioned, saying how they were suffering a war with a neighboring country while the nobles threw parties. Even citizens were being drafted as soldiers. A man mentioned how farmers were short-handed, so harvests were poor. In fact, they were barely able to hold the festival in the first place. All hell was breaking loose in the palace, where Fiona was still enraged that Anna stole the sacred jewel. Rose tried to calm her daughter down, asking her manipulatively if Anna could really do such a thing. She even went as far as crying, blaming herself for spoiling Anna too much as a child. Deep down, Rose was thrilled that her malicious plan worked. Fiona rushed over to Gil, telling him that she wanted to make sure Anna was properly punished. Gil, who was still torn and confused over what had just happened, accepted his fiancé's wishes, although he could not stop thinking why the jewel began to glow when Anna held it. The butler came up to Evan, telling him he was certain Anna would never steal. But Evan admitted he was not sure. He could not say with certainty that she did not steal it. The butler asked him if he really did not know, especially if he could read minds. Evan admitted that he could on the surface. Her thoughts were confused and she clearly denied the theft. But beyond that was clouded and unreadable, just like his mother was. The butler then understood why Evan was so interested in Anna in the first place. Evan knew that with this motive, it was possible. Anna had previously brought up how her stepmother and Fiona were cruel to her throughout her childhood. In a way, it made sense why someone would want to take revenge. But would Anna really seek revenge that way? Not to mention the light he saw from her hands. He had memories of when his mother used the jewel to foresee the future. It would light up in her hands, looking especially magical. Although his mother and Anna had their differences, there was something similar in their aura. Evan's butler smiled, still as supportive as ever. There was a knock at the door, which turned out to be Leo. Evan smiled, asking his little brother what it was. Leo, as cheerful as ever, mentioned how he was super worried about Evan and wanted to visit him. Evan thanked him, taking hold of his shoulders. He told Leo that he could not leave this room, so he needed to ask for a favor. Meanwhile, Anna was still locked up in the dungeon. That vision that flashed in her head earlier, what was it? It felt like a dream, but it felt so vivid, almost like it actually happened. She looked up to see a young boy smiling at her. He introduced himself as Prince Leo, and Anna immediately fell to the ground to bow. Leo immediately stopped her, asking her to lift her head. He told her he came because Evan asked him, and he was super worried about her. Anna looked down, hearing Evan's name, but Leo reassured her. He told her that Evan knew she would never steal, so of course he would believe her too. Anna thanked him for his kindness. Leo told her that soon the truth would be clear and she would be free, so she should not worry. Anna asked him if the festival was coming soon, and Leo told her it was. Anna asked for his help and said the festival needed to be cancelled. Leo was confused why she was saying this. The festival was the one day people looked forward to all year. To cancel it would be a huge disappointment. But what Anna saw was beyond disturbing. People at the festival running for their lives, a huge fire breaking out, causing chaos and hurting countless people. She told Leo frantically that people may die. She did not know why, but something in her soul was telling her this. Leo looked at her in horror. Aaron approached the king on his throne, asking how he was proposing to deal with the jewel theft. Aaron reminded him how it was not entirely certain it was theft, but unless he issued a decree, Gil and the others who witnessed it would not be satisfied. The king collapsed into his hands, clearly stressed. Punishing the maid alone was simple, but something else was troubling him. He remembered Evan, so wise and kind at heart, a vessel fit to be king. He was still someone dear to the king. It was just his ability that ruined their bond. The truth was, it turned people's hearts against him and even warped Evan's own heart. He wished the queen was still alive. He called for Aaron to prioritize the border conflict, asking what the current situation was. Aaron told him that tensions continued along the border with the Adel kingdom, but Adel kept pouring in troops and weapons. To keep peace, they must also send more soldiers to the front. The decision was divided, with half arguing that they should attack and seize territory. The other half argued for mediation and peace talks. Aaron had no clue where to turn, and all he needed was the king's decision. The king shouted that he already knew, causing Aaron to apologize. The king asked to be left. As Aaron walked out of the hall, he bumped into Prince Leo. Aaron asked him if he was heading to Evan. Leo told him he was, and that Evan had asked him to check on Anna. Leo told Aaron how he visited the dungeon, his voice halting as he told the story. But Aaron asked what it was. Leo admitted that Anna had said something concerning, that there would be a fire at tomorrow's festival with many fatalities. He told Aaron how Anna begged for the festival to be cancelled. Leo asked if she had any proof, but she could not explain. Still, she seemed so desperate it did not seem like a lie. Leo was confused why Anna would care so passionately, especially if she was locked up in a cell. Aaron told Leo how canceling the Harvest Festival was near impossible. The people's frustrations were already high and canceling could lead to riots. Leo suggested that they increase security instead, but unfortunately most troops were stationed at the border. Only minimal guards were assigned for tomorrow. Leo looked down, hopeless. They could only hope that tomorrow passed without incident. He made his way to Evan's quarters, where Evan was seated and ready for him. He immediately asked how Anna was, and Leo told him her hand was injured, but other than that she was unharmed. He told Evan how Anna foresaw a fire at the Harvest Festival. Evan remembered everything that happened the other day and wondered if it could be true. Leo was clueless what this meant. He told Evan Anna had a message for him, to keep eating his meals properly. Evan sighed as Leo passed him his tray. He told his brother how he had hardly touched his food, and Anna could tell. Evan thought about how she should worry about herself before worrying about him. Leo tried to calm Evan by telling him he instructed the guards to give her a blanket and hot meals. Now Evan needed to eat too. He agreed, but all he could think about was what happened the other night. How the jewel lit up and if Anna saw something in that moment. Could it be foresight? Evan knew if that was the case, he needed to speak to his father about it. So Evan got up and told his guards he needed to speak with his father. The guards tried to stop him, telling him the king was currently in an important council meeting. They instructed him to go back to his room, but Evan told them that this was an important matter. The guards did not listen, so Evan instructed them to tell Fiona, the jewel's daughter. The guards accused Evan of causing more trouble, and they even lost faith that he was innocent in all this drama. As Evan read their minds, he told them none of it was true. Meanwhile, Fiona ranted at her maids, scolding them for being late with her food. She called them useless, as did Rose, who hissed that pleasing Fiona should be their job. The maid apologized, but Fiona viciously told her to leave. As the maid made her way out, a guard stood by the door about to enter. She called for Fiona, who growled at her again, asking what now. The maid told her how Evan had requested that the jewel's daughter foresee tomorrow's harvest festival. Rose immediately interfered, saying Fiona was in no place after dealing with what happened at the unveiling ceremony. The maid apologized, but surprisingly, Fiona's face lit up when she heard of the festival. She had always wanted to go since she was a child. Rose smiled, saying it was a good idea to lift their spirits, of course. The maid strongly suggested they should not attend as it was against protocol for royalty to join commoner festivals. Rose stepped in, wagging her tail at the poor maid. She told her Fiona was the future queen, so she would not be ordered around by a maid. So the maid needed to let it go. Fiona decided that she would speak to Gil about it tomorrow. The next day was the day of the festival, and Evan looked hopelessly out of the window. No one had taken Anna's prophecy seriously, and Evan felt more useless than ever. He could only pray nothing bad would happen. Anna could hear fireworks, so she knew that the festival was not cancelled. She begged for the harvest festival to pass in peace. Gil was approached by Fiona, who asked him about attending. He turned to look at her in the hallway as she went on about how she looked forward to it every year and really wanted to go. Gil paused, imagining himself going and announcing Fiona as the Jewel's daughter and his bride. Perhaps he would gain more respect, and his claim to the throne would be more certain. Gil decided it would be a wonderful idea. He was stopped by Aaron, who asked if he intended to go now despite having no security or preparations in place. But Gil was stubborn as ever, telling Aaron he was going and warning him not to challenge him. Aaron sighed and let it go, offering to accompany the prince. He instructed the guards to gather 10 off-duty soldiers at once. Gil smiled, instructing Aaron to make it quick. The royal carriage arrived at the festival, which was kicking off in full swing. The townspeople were confused why royalty would come, especially with the political climate. Fiona drew some attention too. This year's harvest festival was meant to be the best yet. The streets were filled with people who ate, danced, and drank. At one stall, a man dozed off, his stove still alight. Someone asked if there was a burning smell, only to see a huge fire. Everyone ran for their lives, and the carriage was forced to halt as the crowds fled. Rose grabbed Fiona, telling her they needed to run to safety. She did not help anyone but herself, trampling and pushing others. A scared young girl fell as Rose stampeded her way out of the crowd. Fortunately, Aaron was there to pick her up, asking if she was all right. His eyes narrowed as he realized he had just seen a glimpse of Rose's true character. He then turned to Gil, leading him to safety as well. Aaron then stood up, instructing all the soldiers to stay calm. They needed to get the townspeople out. The soldiers agreed and rounded everyone up, encouraging them to help the elderly and injured. A few days passed since the incident, and Anna was called to the palace. Regarding the jewel theft incident, the king was to announce judgment. The king walked in and everyone rose. Fiona and Evan were present at the hearing. The king began by saying there was something he needed to do before they rendered a verdict on the jewel theft. He first wanted a thorough report on the investigation of the fire that occurred at the harvest festival. The princes knelt before the king as the investigation began. That evening, a blaze erupted at one of the food stalls, and strong winds spread the flames quickly, burning several buildings including homes. Yet Captain Aaron stayed calm and showed his commanding and firefighting skills, minimizing the damage and preventing casualties. The king congratulated Aaron, who bowed, honored to be recognized. However, the king had something else to say. There was another person to whom they were indebted. A man stood up and told the king that, according to what he had learned, the reason the damage stayed minimal was because Fiona, the Jewel's daughter, foretold it in advance. The man's words made everyone gasp. He continued to say that with her noble divine power, Fiona foresaw the fire, and realizing that, given the times, increasing security would be difficult and not wishing to burden Gil, she took initiative to go herself with her guards. The man began to sob, telling them how much humility Fiona had in not making her good deed public. He declared that he was so moved that he took it upon himself to report it here. The onlookers cooed and bowed to Fiona, moved by the man's acknowledgement. The king turned to Fiona to ask her if it was true. Fiona began to stutter before pulling herself together and telling them yes. The king smiled, but Evan was far from pleased. He tried to read Fiona's mind, but the crowd's inner voices were too loud, meaning he could not hear her thoughts. Suddenly, Evan walked towards his father, telling him that he also had something to say about this. He told his father that the maid, Anna, who was being held here, also warned that a fire would break out at the festival. Gil smirked, asking his brother if he was really trying to take credit. But Evan told him that the day before the festival, Anna, before he could finish his sentence, a small voice completed it. Leo stepped forward, saying it was true. He had spoken to Anna himself. Gil snapped at Leo, telling him to stay out of it. But Evan declared that when Anna touched the jewel at the unveiling ceremony, it lit up, meaning Anna must have seen the future. Evan declared that Anna was the jewel's daughter. Everyone's faces dropped when Evan said this, and he could hear all of their minds working overtime. They thought the claim was ridiculous, since Anna was a maid and a thief. Gil gritted his teeth, still denying the seemingly absurd claim. He asked Evan if he really believed Fiona and his maid were both Jewel's daughters. In this vast world, there were only a handful, so what would be the chances of two living in the same household? Evan approached Gil and asked him if he had ever seen Fiona foresee anything. A few months ago, there were visitors at the palace, someone claiming to be the Jewel's daughter. Gil was far from interested. Dozens of women had shown up pretending to be the jewel's daughter. It was an attractive position, as the legendary daughter would be protected and worshipped throughout her entire life. As the daughter, your future is assured. A union with royalty is not beyond the realm of possibility, but they always began some fortune-teller ritual, waved an absurdly large crystal as a jewel, and spouted prophecies that never came true. None of them triggered that phenomenon, exposing all of them as fakes and liars. Still, it was no wonder, since everyone knows that jewels' daughters exist, but almost no one knows what foresight actually looks like, nor do they know what the real jewel is. Gil remembered being told about a new claimant, and he decided this time he would meet her himself. He asked his attendant to show the girl in. It was then that Fiona walked in with her mother by her side, who thanked him. Gil immediately noticed how pretty Fiona was, but she needed to prove she was the real deal. Her mother said that with the jewel's power she was about to show him, please judge that her daughter Fiona is the true jewel's daughter. Fiona began by asking them to dim the room, which Gil noted. She reached into a box and picked up the jewel, which shone brightly in her hand. It was glowing, similar to how the jewel used to glow in his mother's hands. The stone was a different color, but it looked just like his mother's. Fiona then said that the parched earth would moisten, large drops would fall from the sky, and then heavy rain. Gil did not believe it would rain, since the kingdom had been in a drought for weeks. Not to mention there was not a cloud in sight. Gil demanded for his servants to open the curtains, and as he looked out, rain was falling. Fiona smiled, and Gil knew in that moment he had found her. Fiona truly was the jewel's daughter. He asked her to be his wife immediately, for the sake of the kingdom. So Gil told Evan the entire story, which brought the same strange man to tears again. The crowd already knew Fiona was genuine, and with such beauty and refinement, they had been convinced from the beginning. The king ordered silence, and the two brothers focused on hearing his verdict. The king thanked Fiona for using her foresight, which saved many lives. Fiona bowed, saying she was unworthy of such praise. The hearing was dismissed, and the king announced that next they would pass judgment on the recent jewel theft. Evan asked his father to wait, but his father was angered at whoever attempted the theft of a jewel, a national treasure. He turned to Anna to announce that she would be sentenced to exile on Raven Island. Evan could not believe it. Raven Island was practically the grave of the living. It was a harsh sentence. Anna looked down hopelessly as Evan was accused of being the prince who bore heavy responsibility. The king announced that he would strip him of the right of succession and confine him for life to the mountain fortress. Evan could not believe it, but his father was stone cold. He could hear his father's thoughts, that he wanted his son to forgive him, but his entire existence divided the realm, and their kingdom could not afford a succession struggle now. Court was adjourned, and the king ordered for Anna to be sent to the island tomorrow. Anna shot one last glance at Evan, who shouted after her. That was the last Anna saw of Evan. Although she heard soldiers gossiping about his rampage, they told each other how it must have stung him, having his succession stripped. Anna cried, thinking all of this happened because of her. She just wanted once more to laugh with her brother and father, that was all she wanted. But why was the jewel in her pocket? Her thoughts raced, and when she looked up, she saw a familiar face. It was Evan. He told Anna that he was getting her out. Evan explained that he went again to plead with his father to revoke the decree, but he refused to even see him, sending Evan back to his room. Evan said that since his mother's death, his father had grown fearful. He kept Evan at arm's length and would not face him. There was word that the border tension was dragging on because the king's decision was too late, and it seemed like the nobles had no sense of urgency. Evan knew he could not overturn the judgment now, as Anna's transfer was tomorrow. He knew there was no time left to hesitate. He tied his long hair back and asked his butler for a favor. While the guards were standing by his door, they were suddenly taken down. Evan freely walked out of his room, telling his butler that he wanted the guards to sleep in the room for a while. On his way, he bumped into Leo. Leo knocked on the dungeon office door, where he was met by the guards on duty. They asked him what was the matter, looking at the cloaked stranger behind him. Leo explained that they needed to enter the dungeon and that it was under strict orders. He claimed he had brought a replacement guard, referring to the cloaked man, to arrange for tomorrow's escort. The guard fell for it and let them both through. The second guard began to walk with them, and Leo needed to sweet-talk his way out of this one too. He asked the guard if he was tired since he worked the night shift. The guard agreed, saying it was overkill having 2 guards for 1 female prisoner. The guard turned to Evan, who was still undercover, commenting on how tall he was, and asked which unit he came from. Evan took down his hood, telling the guard confidently that his unit was former prince. He moved Leo to the side before taking down the guard. Leo passed Evan the key to Anna's cell, and he caught it, thanking his brother. He dashed down to find Anna as he thought of all the memories he had of her, how she was different from anyone he had met before, and how she was always smiling, the conversations they had together. It was not long before their eyes met, and Evan told her that he was getting her out. He knew that she was special the moment he saw her. Anna asked Evan why he was there, and Evan told her it was because she was innocent, and he was not going to let his father ship her off to that island. They both stepped out, and Anna thanked Leo, who was upset that everything came to this mess. He asked her not to come to hate this country. Anna looked at the boy in sadness, and they knew they needed to leave quickly. They slipped out of the palace, where Evan's butler was waiting with the carriage. He called Evan over and they jumped in, racing as quickly as they could. But the guards were alerted that a prisoner was on the run, and they chased after the carriage on horseback. Evan held Anna tightly, telling his butler to go faster, but the butler knew that they could never outrun the soldiers. Evan needed to think quickly before the carriage came to a halt. Evan asked the butler what he was doing, and the butler told them to get out quickly. They had arrived at a single road. Evan and Anna jumped out, and the horse was let off the reins. The butler told Evan to take the horse and flee with Anna, and that he would handle the rest. Evan pleaded for his butler to leave too, worried about what would happen to him. But his butler firmly told him that if he wanted to accomplish anything, he must cast off dependence. He asked Evan if he wanted to protect Anna and if he wanted to change this country. He told Anna to take care of Evan as they jumped on the horse. The butler knew that Evan was his everything. He told him to run, and Evan promised that they would meet again. The butler asked for both of them to come back alive. So Evan and Anna set off into the wilderness. They rode for a few hours until they found a safe spot, and Anna asked if they should rest there for a bit. Evan was quite tired too. He was not used to riding for hours in the saddle. He told Anna how they had taken so many forks that their pursuers should have lost their trail. They came across an old shed for farm tools. They decided to go in, leaving the horse there too. Evan sat down by some boxes and watched Anna keep her distance at first. He told her not to worry before pulling her in. Anna tried not to blush as he asked about her posture. She apologized, telling him that he saved her. Of course, Prince Leo and the butler did too. Evan told her that none of this was his fault, and they helped because they knew she did nothing wrong. He explained that Leo was loved by both his father and Gil, so he would be fine. As for his butler, he had been watching over Evan his entire life, so he would not go down that easily. He wrapped Anna in the blanket. Evan thought that if Anna was framed, someone intended harm. But he heard no voice which fit. All he could do was wonder what was going on in the palace. Night fell across the kingdom and Fiona sat on her bed. Her mother met with the strange man from before, thanking him for informing His Majesty about Fiona's foresight. The man told her it was fine. He had already laid the groundwork for the king, so it went smoothly. Fiona looked up and recognized the man from the hearing. He told Rose that she should have been there to witness how it went down, but Rose said she had errands to run. The man confirmed that Fiona was more popular than ever now, and in any case, Gil was the heir. When the man left, Fiona went to confront her mother, asking what she was talking about. Fiona told her that she never foresaw anything, so why did she ask the man to lie? Her mother looked her in the eye and told her she did prophesy the accident, the same way she predicted the rain. Her mother warned her to stay confident and play her role as the true Jewel's daughter and the next queen. She told Fiona to do exactly as she said, and she would not go wrong. All Fiona could do was obey her mother and sit back down. Meanwhile, back in the shed, Evan told Anna that they should get some rest. Anna was quite alarmed to be sleeping next to the prince, but her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of raindrops falling. Evan smiled, telling her it was lucky they found this place. Anna asked Evan if he did not notice the rain coming. She thought he agreed to stop because he knew the weather would change. Evan turned to Anna, surprised at what she had just said. He put his hands on her shoulders, asking her if she could truly read the weather. Anna and Evan left the shed when the rain stopped, but Anna could not stop thinking about what happened the night before. Evan had asked her if she could really predict the weather, and Anna did not know what to say. The prince told her to forget what he said in the end and that they should focus on getting some rest. But Anna did not know what that was about. She closed her hands into a fist, calling Evan's name. She told him that if he had not rescued her in that moment, she would be on that awful island by now. She said he saved her life and thanked him from the bottom of her heart. Evan told her that if he stayed there, he would be under house arrest forever anyway. But from here, where did they go? They fled in a rush, so did not plan ahead. Evan brought some coins, and they also had some goods they could sell. He asked Anna if there was anywhere she wished to go, and Anna paused for a second. She told Evan that when she was imprisoned, she thought she might never see her family again. She wished that she could, but her father was in the capital, so that might be hard. But her brother worked in the provinces. She wanted to see him, and perhaps he could help them hide. Evan thought about the idea, but mentioned it could be dangerous, especially if they turned to her family first to search for her. Anna looked down, knowing he was right. Evan asked her where her brother lived, and she replied in a town called Crewfog. The town was familiar to Evan because it was his mother's hometown. Anna gasped. Was it really where the late queen was from? Evan remembered his childhood, all the nice memories and the bad ones. He told Anna if her brother lived there, then there were things he needed to confirm. He told her to come along. 2 days of traveling passed, and Anna and Evan reached the town of Krufog on their horse. They looked around at the smaller town, and Evan could remember this place as a bustling town long ago. He decided that they should get an inn first, since they were technically on the run and needed to stay out of trouble. So they walked through the town, but Evan instantly felt something wrong. It was midday and the streets were empty. All shops were shut. An old lady passed by, and Anna asked if something was happening today since it was a ghost town. The old lady asked if they were travelers since the town had been like this for a while. She did not hesitate to blame the king. Evan's eyes widened when he heard this. It must have stung being in the presence of people who hated his family so passionately. Anna told the old lady they were there to look for someone, and she suggested they try the mines or the foundry. They would find folks there. Anna and Evan set off towards the industrial part of town, and Evan explained this town was rich in iron ore. It turned out that the town was predominantly manufacturers of iron products, with a large working population. They reached the foundry, and Evan told Anna that there should be people around. Anna gasped when she saw the workers, mainly children, thin and weak. A little girl had passed out on the side of the road, and Anna rushed over to pick her up. They gave her some water, realizing that children were being forced to work at a young age. Something was seriously wrong with this place, and they both could see that from a mile away. A man approached them asking what was wrong. Anna looked up and immediately took her cloak off. That was her brother. She gave him the biggest smile, realizing that after all this time she was finally reunited with the one she loved dearly. Meanwhile at the palace, the king was in a real-life nightmare. He was given some tea but hardly looked up from his table. One of his guards asked him if he was certain about what he said about Evan, and the king told him to say no more. Aaron approached Gil in the hallway, who immediately asked if Evan had been found yet. Aaron told him no, and Gil looked disappointed. He asked what his father said, and Aaron repeated the king's words to leave it be. The king could not afford to spare any more men to find his son and Anna when the kingdom was already in crisis. Gil looked down, hearing the news that his father was letting Evan go. Aaron asked Gil what his orders were, but to his surprise, Gil walked away, telling him to do as his father said. Gil knew he would be the next king, and his brother with no support could do nothing about it now. Rose was furious that Anna had not been found. She screamed at the poor maid who had to break the news to her. Fiona rushed to calm her mother down and told her that her tutor was arriving soon. She admitted she felt a sense of unease. Rose perked up, remembering that her daughter would be queen soon, and being a queen meant Fiona would need to be perfect, completing training in manners and other important matters. She advised Fiona to study hard so no one would dare to look down on a girl from a more rural background. Fiona agreed, but she brought up how the late queen was from a rural town too, yet she became a beloved, admired queen. She knew she needed to be a queen worthy of Sir Gil. The door opened and their maid informed them that Fiona was needed for a rite of foresight. This could be quite an issue for the fraud of the jewel's daughter. Rose gasped, but Fiona collapsed to the ground in tears. She told her mother she had been feeling unwell since this morning. Meanwhile, in the foundry, Anna had been reunited with her brother. He could not believe it was her after all this time. Another man came to see what the fuss was about, and he explained that his sister had come to see him. But also the little girl named Emily had collapsed and needed treatment. The man said he would take the girl to a doctor and instructed Anna's brother to watch over the site. Anna smiled, telling him he had grown a lot, but he looked so tired. He told her he was fortunately no longer sick, but he wanted to know why she was here so suddenly and what happened to her service. Anna smiled, knowing it was a long story. He also wanted to know who the man was with her, looking to Evan. Evan took down his hood and introduced himself as Anna's fiancé. Anna gasped, as did her brother. Was that a confession? Later that day, the three headed to check on Emily, who was stable now. Anna asked Evan what he meant by fiancé, and he explained that he could not think of a cover fast enough, so she should just go with it. Her brother smiled, shocked that Anna was getting married. He asked Evan what his relationship was like with Anna. Evan introduced himself as Evil and told him that he worked at Anna's post as a butler. Her brother smiled, mentioning he had not heard details about her post. He liked Mr. Evil, but reminded him that Anna was still 16. He wondered if marriage was a rushed decision. Despite them being separated all this time, it was clear that Anna's brother still had his strong brotherly instincts intact. Anna called her brother out for being overprotective as usual. She changed the subject, asking about the condition of the town and its people. She mentioned how everyone seemed exhausted and the streets were almost empty. Anna asked why the little girl needed to work until she collapsed. Her brother looked down, asking if she knew the current situation of the kingdom. With tension rising on the border, the production of weapons increased. Being an iron town, anyone capable of work no matter their age was forced to. The townspeople, women and children included, had to work long hard days producing these weapons for the king. Her brother added it was the only way they would meet the quota set by His Highness the King. But with such harsh working conditions, the townsfolk's health was starting to decline. To change this, the mayor, who also ran the foundry, had been petitioning the king, but the court refused to listen. The king apparently had no idea how brutal life was there, and Anna's brother condemned him for caring more about war than his people. The fact this was his late wife's hometown made the situation even more horrifying. There was suddenly a cry, and a man came in announcing that Emily had collapsed. It was the mayor. He apologized, blaming himself for the state of the town. But the townspeople did not blame him, knowing he fought hard and advocated for his people. Everyone blamed the king instead, which seemed to be the general consensus of the townspeople. Evan looked at the man who was the mayor of the town, and suddenly his eyes flashed alive, recognizing an imperative detail. Evan looked at the man, whom the workers called the mayor. They worshipped him like a god. Anna watched Evan and asked if he was all right. The mayor turned to Anna and Evan to ask if they were travelers. Her brother said no, explaining that it was his sister and her colleague who came to visit. The mayor smiled, telling Anna and Evan that Alan was a real hard worker. He was serving as a floor foreman now. Anna wasn't surprised to hear this news. She knew that her brother had always been smart and capable. She had always been proud of him. The mayor was glad to see the siblings reunited, but told Anna times were tough for their town. They couldn't offer much, but he asked her and Evan to rest here. Evan was unusually silent, and the mayor announced he had to get back to work. Alan asked the pair where they were staying, offering to walk them. He told them that he was heading home himself now after pulling an all-nighter last night. Evan told him it was about time for them to get to the inn as well. At the inn, Evan was welcomed back by the innkeeper. He was surprisingly stern. Anna smiled at Alan, telling him that Evan was only tired. So they awkwardly stepped into their separate rooms, Alan laughing, knowing they were only engaged after all. It was then that Evan peeked his head around, asking Anna how to take his cloak off. Anna smiled and loosened his tie for him, and Evan thanked her. When he left, Alan turned to Anna to ask if she was having a hard time. Anna explained how Evan was just very clumsy, but he was usually kind. Alan told her that if anything was ever wrong, she should tell him right away. Anna smiled, telling her brother he had been up all night and should get some rest. She promised to see him again in the morning. Alan took her advice and headed on his way, leaving Anna finally alone. She breathed out in relief. She noticed that Evan had been having deep thoughts the whole time they were out, both today and back at the shed, but he didn't say a thing. She wished that she could be of more use to him. Meanwhile, Evan sat at his desk, voices filling his head. He heard the mayor that day, which really disturbed him. The mayor blamed the king and how he cared more about war than his people. The next morning, Anna and Evan sat at breakfast. Anna immediately noticed that Evan was stern as ever, and he told her that there was somewhere he wanted to go. He asked Anna to join him. Anna could only wonder where he wanted to go. At the mayor's office, Evan apologized for dropping by so suddenly. He told the mayor that he heard he was negotiating deliveries with the crown. He asked how the talks were progressing. The mayor went silent before telling them it was time for him to take his leave and that they could continue this discussion later. Anna smiled, thanking the mayor for his time, but Evan looked infuriated. Back at the inn, two strange men were hanging out in the lobby. Evan walked in and glanced at them before slamming the door shut. He told Anna they needed to run as these men were pursuers. Evan actually saw through their intent and thoughts, and he knew that they needed to get out of there. So he instructed Anna to go to her brother and have him hide her. She asked Evan anxiously where he would go, but all Evan said was that he had something to do. He instructed Anna to stay out of sight as much as she could, but Anna pleaded for him to wait. She asked him to tell her what he had been thinking about for the past day. She didn't know what was happening, nor did she know what Evan was going to do. She was only a maid and maybe useless, but she wanted to repay him for saving her. She wanted to help. Evan looked into Anna's eyes and apologized, but she told him she should be the one apologizing. Evan explained that he had always been this way, maybe because he heard people's inner thoughts or perhaps because he grew up all alone with no one to talk to. Because of that, he was terrible at saying what others feel. Anna looked at him with nothing but empathy. Evan explained that yesterday, when they met the mayor, he wore a kind face that praised and admired the townspeople. But what the mayor felt deep in his heart was hatred toward the miserable townspeople. His inner voice was ugly, wishing that his useless people would get back to work. Evan admitted that it wasn't rare for people to hide their true feelings, but what caught him was what came after that thought. The mayor wanted to increase production, so while the townsfolk believed that he was negotiating with the crown to reduce quotas, his heart said the opposite. So when Evan went out that morning, he learned that the mayor was colluding with the neighboring kingdom. He was forcing cruel work on the townsfolk and then supplying the acquired iron to the enemy. That was why he blamed the king and lied about negotiating. And Anna couldn't believe it. But Evan knew that was the real reason such harshness existed here. Though he spoke of needing iron for their kingdom, the people were worked to the bone to provide for the enemy too. Evan wanted to tell the town and free them, but the mayor was idolized by his people. And of course, no one would believe him if he told them he could read minds. So Evan decided that he was going to sneak into the mayor's house in search of evidence or anything that would prove him a fraud. He just needed Anna to stay hidden. But Anna didn't want to just hide and wait. She decided that she wanted to try it her way. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, Fiona rose out of bed to be met by Gil. He asked her if he could come in, and Fiona accepted eagerly. Gil dragged a chair out to sit next to Fiona to ask her if she was all right. He had heard that she collapsed, and he was worried. He took her hand before asking what the doctor said. Fiona explained how the doctor told her she was exhausted, and she apologized. She told him she didn't realize how draining castle life was. That was something she still wasn't used to. So Fiona was told to rest for a while, and Gil would tell his father the rite of foresight was impossible at this time. He told Fiona that when she was better, he wanted to see her smile again. He looked into her eyes, and in that sweet moment, the couple didn't realize that Fiona's mother was listening outside. Eventually, Gil left and Fiona burst into tears. She hated the fact that she lied, because what the rite of foresight showed her was that she was not a Jewel's daughter. If she was not a Jewel's daughter, then what exactly was she worth? Fiona rose to see the box. Of course, her mother forbade her from touching the jewel alone, but she couldn't help herself. She mentally apologized to her mother before opening the box. She had to know the truth. But before she could touch the stone, her mother flung the door open, telling her to stop. Fiona asked her mother to forgive her, but she needed to know if she was truly worthy to be Gil's wife, to be the queen of this kingdom. But her mother looked at her cold as ice. She told her it was pointless because she was not the Jewel's daughter. Fiona couldn't believe it. She wasn't the Jewel's daughter? Her mother looked down and told her yes. Of course, this confirmed Fiona's worst nightmare to be true. She realized she had deceived the king and she felt like a fraud. Not to mention poor Anna, who only attempted to steal the jewel and was sentenced to exile. What would Fiona's punishment be for tricking everyone? But then her mother placed her hands on Fiona's shoulders, advising her to maintain the facade. She explained that if Fiona was exposed as a fake, it would be disastrous. That bridge was already burned. She told her daughter not to betray Gil's trust and that Gil could become the next king because he was marrying the Jewel's daughter. If Gil learned that Fiona was not the Jewel's daughter, then everyone would turn on him. Fiona was hysterical. What could she do at this point? She asked her mother how she managed to foresee the weather. Her mother told her that was a lie too. Someone told her it would rain and her mother made it sound like she had said it. The light when she touched the jewel was also staged, as her mother coated Fiona's hand and the jewel with a special agent that would make it glow when touched. Fiona couldn't believe this was true. Her mother had manipulated her into believing she really said those words, that she rose in her sleep, grasped the jewel and said, "Rain will fall at noon today." Her mother took her hands and told her how they would go to the palace first thing to inform them. But once they were there, they needed to dim the lights, and Fiona needed to remove her gloves right before she touched the jewel. She then told Fiona to speak the foresight as though she was seeing it for the first time. Fiona naively did as she was told, thinking that she could finally be announced as the Jewel's daughter. Fiona collapsed to the ground, asking her mother sadly why she tricked her. And then Fiona was angry. She demanded to know why her mother set her up like this and lied to her. Fiona's mother went dark before telling Fiona it was all for her. All Fiona could wonder was who the true Jewel's daughter was. Meanwhile, Evan and Anna worked on their plan. Anna turned to Evan to ask him one last question. She brought up that after they spoke about the weather at the shed, he went quiet. Anna wanted to know what he was thinking about then. Evan looked down and asked Anna how she thought today's weather would go. Anna looked at the sky and guessed it would rain that afternoon but stop by evening. Evan sighed and Anna asked if she was wrong. But Evan told her that was something he didn't know. Normally no one could read the weather that precisely. He told Anna that once the mayor's matter was settled, they would talk properly. So they set off to the mayor's home to find that he wasn't even back yet. Evan found an open window and jumped in, making his way toward the mayor's office. He quickly flicked through the paperwork, eager to find something to prove dealings with the enemy or any evidence left behind. He heard footsteps approaching and knew he needed to think fast. But the mayor was faster, telling Evan he knew he was there, and that he knew he was the first prince. So Evan jumped up facing the mayor. He asked how he knew who he was. The mayor smiled, telling Evan he was aware he could read thoughts. He told Evan not to mind his. Evan looked down, furious, but the mayor continued, saying that even if Evan had read him and learned the truth, it was already useless. He declared that if a wanted man died in some alley, no one would care. It was then that a group of men appeared in front of Evan, one holding a knife. They were ordered to kill him. Meanwhile, Anna darted through the streets to find her brother. When she found him, she told him that she needed him to hear this fast, before asking if he had a minute. He asked her what was wrong, and Anna explained how the mayor had been deceiving everyone. Her brother's eyes widened as Anna told him how the mayor had been selling iron to the enemy, and that was why everyone had to endure such long hours and laborious work. A boy scolded Anna for spouting nonsense, arguing that the mayor broke his back for the people, then asking another worker to find the mayor. It was then that they were asked what the confrontation was about, and the man told him that Anna had been saying the mayor was tricking them and colluding with the enemy. Of course, this angered the townspeople, who trusted their mayor over a random outsider. They even accused Anna of being hired by the crown to try to turn the mayor's people against him. From the king's view, a mayor demanding quota cuts was a nuisance. They then mentioned the man Anna came with and accused him too of trying to stir trouble, even calling him the ringleader. Anna's brother desperately tried to get everyone to calm down, so Anna yelled that none of it was true. Evan's real name was Evan Rowland, and he was the first prince with the gift of reading people's hearts. That was how he saw the mayor's crimes. She argued that Evan was trying to save everyone, but of course no one believed what Anna was saying. They told her the first prince was the crazy one with all the nasty rumors surrounding him. They wouldn't put such delusions past him. Then someone even commented on how that prince was wanted, so he must have done something huge to be criminalized. They pointed their fingers at Anna, suspecting that she must be wanted too, and a criminal for that matter. Their outrage scared her, and she had no idea what to do as the townsfolk demanded she leave. They threw trash at her, shouting that they knew she and Evan were bad news, the flunkies of the monster prince. Anna's brother tried to help his sister, but it was a crowd of people against two. That wasn't enough to scare Anna into submission though. She bravely stood up and declared that Evan was not crazy. She told them that from the day he was born he struggled with hearing hearts. He was kind, and his heart broke seeing his people suffer. He had been tossed around by others' minds, cut by their ugliness, and then shunned for it. She couldn't stand him being called a monster. The crowd looked at Anna in total shock. Anna called for the people not to call Evan a monster. She was furious that the folk had been manipulated to this extent. And suddenly, before the crowd could throw any more abuse at Anna, a little girl came to her defense. Anna instantly recognized her as the girl from yesterday. Her mother called for her to get back, but the young girl named Emily told her mother that this girl had helped her yesterday. The little girl told everyone that Anna was kind, and she asked why everyone was being so cruel. She cried, telling them that Anna had done nothing wrong. The little girl's words silenced everyone, and then suddenly another young girl stepped forward. She told the crowd she was bullied when she was little because of the bruise on her face. A boy stepped forward, telling everyone he was teased for being a sickly child and had no friends. He declared that it was wrong to blame someone for their birth or how they were born. Suddenly, the man from before told everyone they were being delusional. He said these people had only come to call their mayor a traitor. He asked what was wrong with everyone, then put his hands out toward Anna, declaring that they should be tied up. But suddenly, the man's hands were met with a fist. Alan had stepped forward to defend Anna. The people were stunned to see that Alan was turning against his own people, but that was his sister. He yelled that he didn't care about anything, but anyone who hurt his precious sister he would never forgive. Anna couldn't believe it, her brother heroically going against everything he knew. The townsfolk were shaken too, seeing Alan, usually gentle and soft-spoken, speaking out like this. The little girl turned to Anna and asked if she was all right. Anna smiled and thanked Emily for being so brave. When everyone had calmed down, Alan asked his people what had gotten into them. He understood that everyone was tired and on edge, but not being able to calm down and listen wasn't like them at all. And then Jack, the young man who had been instructed to get the mayor, returned in a panic. He declared that he saw some rough-looking men go into the mayor's house. Then Anna realized that Evan must have gone into the mayor's house to look for evidence. Alan told her they should hurry, but the man also said the rest would be coming, as they still didn't believe what had been said. So asking the mayor directly would be enough. As they hurried to the house, Anna could only pray that Evan was safe. The people called for the mayor and were surprised to hear no answer. So they entered and saw the mayor face down on the floor, followed by a few men who had been tied up. Evan held on to him. The townspeople couldn't believe what they were seeing, but Anna was only glad Evan was safe. The mayor announced that this man had suddenly attacked him, calling his people for help, so they told Evan to let him go. Evan grabbed the mayor by his collar, telling him there must be proof that he was dealing with the enemy. He asked him calmly where the evidence was. The people gathered around to witness what their mayor was going to say next. He began to stutter, weakly claiming there was no such thing. Evan looked the mayor in the eye before letting him go. He got up and walked toward the mayor's drawer, opening it. Evan pulled out a pile of paperwork, tossing it toward the townsfolk. They picked it up and read it. The material spoke of iron being passed to the neighboring kingdom, and suddenly their attention was drawn to a box. It contained the crest of Adele, the neighboring kingdom. The townspeople couldn't believe it. They looked down at the other men who were tied up. It was then that the mayor spat that the townspeople were at fault. He called them fools for not working it out sooner, bitterly thanking them for their hard work, all for his sake. The people were beyond enraged, calling the mayor a bastard and shaming him for lying to them. But before they burst into fury, they remembered to apologize to Anna and Evan. In fact, the man from before even bowed at Anna's feet, apologizing for hurting her. Anna told him to raise his head. She told him it was Evan who uncovered the mayor's crimes and they shouldn't mind her. The constable finally arrived, and the people explained everything. Even the constable couldn't believe what he was hearing. Evan called for everyone to wait. He still had questions for the man. The constable looked at Evan, saying he recognized him, but then it clicked, of course. Evan was a wanted man. Anna's brother chuckled, declaring that he was his brother. So the constable smiled, telling Evan he had done a good job. So of course the mayor was taken away, and peace was restored. Evan rushed to Anna to ask if she was okay. She was covered in blood, and Evan panicked, telling her they needed to treat it. But Anna smiled, telling him the bleeding had stopped and she was fine now. She was just happy to see Evan again. Anna told Evan how strong he was, and Evan explained that his old retainer had drilled self-defense into them. He also had the power to read his opponent's next move. Alan told him how amazing that was. So Anna was sat down and her wound was cleaned up. She was told it wouldn't scar and she would be fine. She stood up and remembered Evan saying he had more to ask the mayor. Evan agreed, admitting he wouldn't know the details until he interrogated him. That morning the mayor hadn't recognized him, but when he returned he knew he was the prince. So the question was, who told him that? A short while earlier, rain fell at the royal palace. Fiona and her mother were deep in their confrontation that Fiona was not the jewel's daughter. But little did they know someone was listening in. The person sprinted to another room, knocking on the door. The maid, named Irina, was flustered, but she told the man that something serious had occurred. The man laughed wickedly, suspecting that mother and daughter were fakes after all. This was now his chance to take the kingdom. Evan explained to Anna and her brother that they needed to press the mayor on who told him he was the prince. Evan looked out the window to see that the rain was beginning to pour, and Alan complained that he had left the washing out. So Anna's foresight was correct, it really had started raining. Evan turned to her and told her she was Jewel's daughter. Anna couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her, Jewel's daughter? The townspeople asked if she was the same as the late queen, and some even mentioned that the second prince's fiancé was Jewel's daughter. Evan moved closer to Anna, asking her if she remembered what he had said to her before. She had been shocked then too, but she thought it couldn't be her, that Evan had only said it to get her out of the mess she was in. Evan asked if she really thought he lied, and Anna said no. He reminded her that this morning she had predicted the day's weather. The sky had been clear, yet she knew it would rain. He asked if anyone else could have predicted it would rain that afternoon. Apart from the fool who said his grandpa was a farmer, no one raised their hand. And it was true, it was impossible to predict the exact hour rain would start to fall. Evan knew that Anna also knew tomorrow's forecast. Anna nodded, and everyone looked at her in shock. They turned to Alan to ask if he knew Anna could read the weather. Alan admitted that he didn't, but he turned to Evan to ask if reading the weather could prove Anna was a Jewel's daughter. Evan explained that everyone knew a Jewel's daughter touched the jewel and foresaw visions, but each color also had its own individual gift. That meant the power could manifest even without the jewel in hand. Alan asked if this meant Anna's gift was reading the weather, and Evan explained that his mother, the late queen, had a different individual gift. Anna couldn't believe what was happening. All this time she hadn't realized she had this power. She had been instructed not to tell anyone, and yet Fiona had been praised for predicting the weather before Gil. Back then, what did she think? She remembered the time Fiona was in the palace and how there had been so many secrets. Suddenly, Anna collapsed. She cried out that she was sorry. Alan and Evan rushed to her, and Alan asked her if Rose had said something to her. It turned out that when Anna was a little girl, she had looked out her window and breathed out. She saw the laundry hanging on the line and knew she needed to hurry. Of course, Rose came storming out asking Anna what she was doing. It was midday and perfectly dry. She even accused Anna of slacking off. But before she could strike Anna, it began to pour down with rain. Rose gasped. She asked Anna if she had known it was going to rain. Anna told her yes. That was why she rushed to bring the laundry in. Rose stared at her, her hands forming fists. She told her that anyone could read the weather and warned Anna never to tell anyone about this. The dark memory was so repressed in Anna's mind that she could hardly breathe. Evan asked her if, before her stepmother and Fiona went to the palace, during last year's drought, Rose had asked her about the weather. Anna remembered how dry it had been that summer. Rose told her that when Anna knew when it would rain, she must tell her. So Anna did. She told Evan, and suddenly everything made sense. Alan asked Evan what all this meant, and Evan told them that Rose had stolen Anna's jewel and dressed her own child Fiona up as the false Jewel's daughter. Anna couldn't believe it. She turned to her brother, who looked devastated. Rose had been their mother's close friend. When he was little, Rose and baby Fiona had boarded at their house. Their family had lived peacefully, but that day when his mother gave birth, Rose was the first to take action. She took Alan's mother to another room, and Alan, terrified, was told by Rose that she had worked as a midwife. She told him to wait outside and that he would meet his little sibling soon. His father had been at work that day, and his mother had given birth at home. Alan first heard Anna's cry, and he was so happy, but the door didn't open for a long time. And when it did, he saw Rose. Rose told him then and there that his mother had passed. She had his mother's blood on her hands. Alan cried out. He needed to know what had really happened back then in that room. And then he asked the question, could it be that woman killed their mother? Anna sank to the ground. Rose killed her mother? Memories flashed in Anna's mind as she tried to let everything sink in. She was born holding a jewel, so could it be that her mother's death was connected to that? Evan asked Anna if she was all right, and Anna apologized for worrying him. She stepped into his room. Evan explained that for now, Alan was acting as the leader, keeping the town together while probing the case and reorganizing the foundry. With the mayor arrested, iron output would return to normal, and the kids and the elderly would not be forced to work. Evan told Anna that despite being busy, her brother was worried about her. He asked Anna if she wanted to head outside. It was Evan's mother's hometown, so he was quite familiar with the surroundings. Anna smiled, knowing how considerate Evan was being. So they headed out for a walk, and Anna asked if it was safe for them to be out. Evan explained that the pursuers at the inn were the mayor's men from the neighboring kingdom, so for now there were still no royal pursuers in town. A familiar man approached them, the constable. He recognized Evan as Sophia's or the queen's son. Evan asked the man if he knew his mother. The constable said of course, folks his age and above owed her so much. Evan asked the constable if he was also aware that he was on the run. The constable told him yes, but he said if he tried to arrest Evan, his wife would eat him alive. Evan's mother saved his wife's life. He called Evan a hero for saving this town. Evan asked how his mother saved his wife, and the man explained that it was with her healing gift. She healed small wounds on the spot, and for heavy illnesses she would visit homes and treat them over time. Anna thought to herself that the late queen's gift was healing, as Evan had mentioned before. The man told Evan and Anna that Sophia was their benefactor. Thanks to her help, his wife was fine. In fact, she was so fine she could scold him daily. But the constable looked down sadly, telling Evan that when the late queen passed away, the whole town mourned. The queen guarded the realm, saved those around her, and was deeply loved. Anna thought to herself that if she really was a jewel's daughter, then with that gift, maybe she could help the people who were suffering now. So none of them were out to arrest them. Evan and Anna walked through the town, and Evan told her that when he heard Anna's brother was here, he remembered there was something he needed to confirm. That was whether he really killed his mother. Evan was worried that she was not getting better, and his father urged her to recuperate in her hometown. Evan and his brother went too, and he remembered not wanting to get too close because of his power to read minds. He remembered seeing Gil, who declared he was going to see his mother first. But Evan wanted to see his mother too. His mother sat up in bed, asking if they were fighting again. She wished for them both to get along, but Evan told his mother Gil started it, and she told him to leave it since he was older. Suddenly his mother collapsed, and her sons rushed to her to ask if she was all right. Their mother smiled weakly, telling them she was fine. In fact, she was feeling better than she did before. So the boys returned to their room, and soon they learned that back in their mother's hometown there was no cure. Evan wished for a doctor or treatment. He would do anything to help his mother. Gil barged into Evan's room, telling him there was a spring in the hills that could cure any illness. Evan asked him if this was true, and Gil said it was. But the spring was just over the border on their neighbor's side. He said that father would never allow it, but folks here would sneak some water and get cured, hence why there were so many healthy elders. Evan was willing to take the chance, and he told his brother he was in. They decided to head off to get the water. Evan knew that them leaving the manor would draw eyes and they might be stopped, so they decided to leave at dawn. Anna smiled, hearing that the siblings used to get along as children. Evan told her they did, but after that event they fell apart completely. Evan rushed out of the door and they went into the woods in search of the spring. Evan told Gil not to relax until they were done, but they turned a corner and encountered a pack of wild dogs. Evan leapt in front of Gil to protect him, but he had no idea what to do. He told Gil he would drive them away. He told Gil to run as the dogs came sprinting toward him. Evan tried to lead them the other way, but he fell, and the last thing he saw were the dogs getting closer and closer. Fortunately, a hunter came to the rescue and saved Evan and Gil. But when they got back to the manor, Evan was scolded beyond belief. His father told him he was lucky to be alive, and that entering the bordering mountains without telling anyone was unforgivable. He asked Evan what he was even doing out there. Evan looked down, silent, but this angered his father even more. He even raised his hands at Evan, but Gil jumped in between. Their mother also came rushing in, telling them all to stop. Gil began to cry, telling his father that Evan got injured protecting him. He admitted he was so scared in the moment he could not do anything. He began to cry. Eventually their father calmed down, but he told Evan he was the eldest and the first heir, so he needed to show some responsibility. Evan looked down, apologizing to his father. He told him he would talk some sense into them as well. His father reminded them of the reason they were there, to focus on their mother's recovery, and burdening her only defeated the purpose. The boys agreed. Evan's punishment was that he was prohibited from leaving the estate. His eyes widened, knowing exactly what this meant. The next day, Evan thought to himself how he never got to talk to Gil afterward, so what should he do regarding the spring water? But to his surprise, Gil showed up in his room with a big smile on his face. He told Evan to look at what he had. In his hands was a bottle of the spring water. Gil told Evan he went out this morning into the mountains. A hunter gave him herbs that drove the wild dogs away. Evan smiled, telling Gil he did amazing. They decided to give it to their mother immediately. Their mother sat up, finding out what all this was about. Evan and Gil apologized, telling their mother they did not mean to worry her, but they really wanted her to have this. Their mother hugged them tightly, thanking both of them. She took the water and began to drink, but she strangely clutched her throat. The boys told her to drink all of it, and she did. Eventually, the queen smiled, telling them she already felt her strength returning. She thanked both of them before asking if they had lessons that afternoon with their tutor. The boys headed on their way, leaving their mother behind. They gently closed the door behind them. Evan turned to Gil to ask him who told him about the spring. Gil told Evan he overheard servants talking outside his door, and when he opened it, no one was there. Evan understood, but deep down this felt like a bad omen. In the first place, does an all-curing spring really exist? Evan wished he had thought this through when Gil first told him. So he decided to set out to find which servant said it. He questioned a nearby maid who began thinking about how she was told not to get involved with Evan. But of course Evan could read her mind, so he asked her outright why she could not get involved with him. The maid obviously freaked out and turned her back. So Evan asked another servant who was just as flippant with him. He was worried Evan would find out he was slacking and hurried away. So Evan went straight to the servants' quarters, declaring he heard a rumor that there was a spring that healed sickness. The servants jumped when they saw him, and all tried to dismiss him and stay away. It was clear that everyone was afraid of poor little Evan. Evan was enraged that no one was listening. He even grabbed hold of a server, causing a load of plates to smash. Evan could only apologize, but he heard everyone's nasty thoughts in real time. What was wrong with the prince? Was he really Lady Sophia's son with his attitude? It was clear as day that they hated him. Evan tried explaining that he just needed to ask something, but no one was listening. So Evan, incapable of controlling his emotions, grabbed hold of the server's shirt. He asked him what was going on in his head. The others pleaded for him to stop, and then out of nowhere, Evan's mother appeared. She asked what was going on, visibly upset seeing all the commotion. The servers all pointed their fingers at Evan, who looked more ashamed than ever. Evan tried explaining that he just needed to ask something. His mother told him she would hear his reasons after, but she asked him if all of this mess was his doing. Evan looked down and said yes, and then suddenly Sophia collapsed. She pleaded for everyone to forgive her, saying that if Evan did this, she was responsible too. She asked them to forgive her. Evan looked at his mother, completely distraught. The workers pleaded for Sophia to get up, telling her they would handle the mess on their own. Evan also begged to help. His mother looked up to him, and then she fell to the ground. Evan screamed for his mother to wake up. Sophia was taken to her bed and a doctor came. Gil also came rushing over, and Evan told him that something was wrong. But Gil hid Evan's hand away, telling him he had already heard it all. The servers told him it was Evan's fault that his mother collapsed, and Gil was furious. He worked so hard to fetch the spring water, and she should have healed. But it was always because of Evan's weird power that things had to go wrong. He harshly told Evan that he acted strange, causing trouble to everyone. And now their mother collapsed due to all the stress. He was nothing but a hindrance. Evan told him it was not true, but Gil was furious at this point. He said it was because Evan made his mother bow her head. It was then that Gil declared that if anything happened to their mother, he would cut Evan out of his life. Sadly, Sophia passed away 2 weeks later. After that, Gil and Evan cut ties completely, and that was the end of it. Anna looked at Evan with great sadness. To the present day, Gil still saw Evan as the one who was to blame for their mother's death. The incident was remembered as Evan picking a fight with the servants in a fit of rage, and it was not entirely wrong. Suddenly, Anna took hold of Evan's face, stopping it from bowing. She told him she did not think he was wrong. He acted for his mother. She was sure that if she felt that way, then the queen would have as well. She told Evan firmly that he did nothing wrong. Evan thanked Anna, but he told her he was really selfish. He explained that he still carried guilt and an unshakable regret, thinking that maybe this entire time he wanted someone to say those words to him. Back then, Ju said the same thing to Evan, but he could not accept it. He felt pathetic. But Anna smiled, remembering to ask if his butler was there that day. Evan explained that at the time, both Ju and Gil's butler Thomas had urgent palace work, so they were not in town. Even Gil's steward was not. If Ju had been around, they would not have gone to the spring alone. Evan looked up and he realized where he was. It turned out that the very spring they were talking about was not too far from here, and he wanted to check it out. But something felt off. Evan heard the spring was a bit past the border. He wondered if his memory had failed him, but as they approached closer, the very spring was right in front of them. Evan and Anna gasped as they saw the water with a danger sign attached to it. Suddenly, Jack returned and told them he needed them urgently. They were interrogating the mayor at lockup and he slipped and said the iron smuggling was following orders. He then clammed up, so they decided to find Evan to read his mind. Anna knew what this meant. There was a mastermind behind all of this. Evan told Jack he would like to press that point too. He told Anna they should go, looking at the spring. He asked Jack what was with the sign, and Jack explained that the spring was toxic. The town put it up to stop anyone from drinking from it. So all along, the healing water was poison. Evan arrived at the makeshift prison for the mayor and looked down to see him with his head bowed. He walked over to take a better look. Jack told his people to hold the mayor steady and advised Anna to step out in case things got rough. So a man held the mayor's head up and kept his eyes open to look at Evan. The men asked Evan if he could see the one behind it, but all Evan said was Noah. The mastermind was the royal steward, Noah Gildick. Meanwhile, Noah stepped into the king's office announcing he would begin his daily duties. But suddenly there was a racket outside. Noah went to get the door, telling the people that the king was in a session, but the person declared it was urgent news. Meanwhile, Gil took care of Fiona, asking her if she needed any water. Fiona was silent as ever before gently closing her eyes. She knew that Gil worried about her so much, and her lying about being sick and being the Jewel's daughter in the first place did not feel great at all for Fiona, but she did not see any other alternative. Gil was also upset. He sensed that Fiona was not improving, and he wondered why. Of course, he had his trauma too, watching his mother get sick and pass away. He now feared the same would happen to Fiona, but he knew he needed to stay strong and stop assuming the worst. He would not let that happen. All he could do was ask Fiona to heal. Fiona looked at Gil, sad to see him that way. Suddenly, the door burst open and Thomas announced there was an emergency. Gil scolded Thomas for barging into Fiona's chambers, but Thomas told him again the news was urgent. The neighboring kingdom had crossed the border and invaded, and His Majesty had issued a decree. Thomas ordered for Lady Fiona to perform a rite of foresight immediately. Gil jumped in front of Fiona, shocked by what he was hearing. He told Thomas that Fiona was not fully recovered yet. However, Thomas said that if they waited, the neighboring country would keep advancing. There was no time to lose. Only Fiona could bring victory and a brighter future to their nation. In fact, the whole country was counting on this moment. Gil told Thomas he knew that, and tried to keep defending Fiona. But Fiona interrupted, looking like she was about to be sick. She wanted to tell them the truth, that she was a fake, that her prophecy would be a lie. But in all the chaos, all Fiona could say was that she understood. Gil took her by the shoulders and thanked her for her effort. He told her he would plead for his father to at least postpone it until tomorrow. He asked Fiona to rest for now. He and Thomas left the room and Fiona collapsed to her knees. She had no idea what she should do. What could she do? She knew she needed to find her mother. Meanwhile, Fiona's mother paced around the palace corridors where she was met with a mysterious stranger. The stranger asked her if she was Lady Rose, and Rose demanded to know who the man was. He apologized and introduced himself as Gildick. He told her he had something he needed to discuss. Fiona's cries were as loud as day, and Rose hurried to her daughter's chamber. It was there that Fiona pleaded for a solution to this mess. Her mother took her hand and told Fiona it would be all right. Tomorrow they would use the glowing agent again and Fiona would say one line. Fiona looked to her mother, much more calm this time. Rose truly was the woman with all the answers. Or lies, should we say. The next morning, Gil asked Fiona if she was feeling better. They gathered in the hallway, ready for the ceremony. Fiona walked in dressed like a true saint, with her hair covered with a scarf and wearing a long, flowy dress. She smiled confidently, asking Gil to watch over her. It was there that Fiona touched the jewel, which lit up like a star. The royals were mesmerized, and Fiona closed her eyes. She looked up to tell everyone she saw their soldiers claiming victory on a land called Silvern. The king immediately bought it, and Aaron recognized the name as a place where the invading army had set up a camp. Fiona went on to say that in 3 days' time, the enemy would move to attack a nearby town, leaving their camp lightly defended. She called for them to take advantage of that moment. Gil could not believe how detailed Fiona's foresight was, and demanded for Aaron to quickly form an assault squad and head covertly to Silvern. Aaron looked at the prince and told him that the enemy camp sat on open plains visible for miles, so surprise attacks would be hard, not to mention they likely already accounted for that. But Gil scolded him for doubting Fiona's word. The king too bought Fiona's foresight over Aaron's logic, his excuse being that his late wife had saved the kingdom many times. So poor Aaron had no choice. When he left, the royals applauded Fiona. She thanked them, her eyes lighting up. Meanwhile, Noah watched on from the back. Back in the town, Anna helped out with the laundry, and the innkeeper thanked her for everything. Anna smiled, knowing it was a good day with clear sunny skies. The perfect day for laundry. Of course, hearing what she did today shocked her, but now that she had calmed down, she realized that it was better to move on than dwell on the past. Anna had always been more of a doer than a worrier. But when she looked up, she saw a dozen people crying and injured. Alan and Anna rushed over asking them what had happened. A man told them it was the neighboring country. They came and invaded. They occupied the village and destroyed their houses, hurting people in the process. Alan instructed everyone to round up the injured and he would find food and blankets. They would use the shop as a temporary shelter. Alan then called for Anna, asking her to bring the injured to the clinic. Anna accepted, helping as many as she could. People gathered in the shop completely helpless. One even said that he wished the late queen was here in times like this. She protected their country in times of trouble with the power of the jewel. Even now she would be working hard, helping everyone. And now people were hopeless. Some losing their loved ones, some in pain, some lost. They prayed for a miracle, for a jeweled maiden to save them. And then Anna knew just how important her power was. She needed to become someone who everyone could rely on. Evan came rushing back, immediately asking how he could help. Anna told him she needed to head straight to the palace.